Right friends, welcome back to Economy Questions and Answers with the discussion. This is the 7th module. Name the economy under which goods are produced based on the purchasing power but not on the needs of the people. The needs of the people may be different, but when the goods are produced solely based on the purchasing power of the people, that is the capitalist economy. And if you want the traits of capitalist economy, the sole motto is profit, then private ownership of means of production, that is the predominant trait, then less government intervention, minimum government controls, then high competition, the survival of the fittest theory will apply here, then economic freedom to do the things in their own way will be there. So, capitalist economy predominant features are profit motto, less government intervention, then competition, then economic freedom, then private ownership of means of production. So, these are the features of capitalist economy. Please look into this slide. That is the difference between socialist economy, capitalist economy, mixed economy. And you may ask a pertinent question. What is the type of economy followed by India? The type of economy followed by India is mixed economy. Strictly speaking, India followed the strategy of mixed economy with more socialist bias after independence, and subsequent to 1991 new economic reforms, our economy at present can be stated as mixed economy with more capitalist bias. So, from 1947 onwards, our economy mixed economy with more socialist bias, and after 1991 new economic reforms, our economy can be stated as the economy that is the mixed economy with the capitalist bias. And what are the features of a socialist economy? Goods are to be produced based on the needs of society, and government will dictate how the goods are to be produced and how to distribute. These are the things which will be decided by the government. As government has got more control under socialist economy, red tapeism, that means delaying the things, then corruption, these are the predominant drawbacks of socialist economy. As I have already told you, after independence, we tried with more socialist bias, but somehow it could not give desired results in some sectors. Next, capitalist economy. I have just now explained profit is the motto, production will be as per the demand, and here the means of production will be owned by the private individuals, and here the basic problem is it results in unequal distribution of income. The disparities will increase. That's why we are seeing nowadays number of billionaires across the world. When people are still to come out of poverty, even in our country also, substantial population or below poverty, under these circumstances, the number of billionaires are increasing, and this is due to the reason we have taken the path of mixed economy with capitalist bias after 1991. So, there are drawbacks both in socialist bias as well as capitalist bias. Then, mixed economy I have given here. Public sector and private sector exist side by side. Private sector will provide goods and services it can provide, and essential goods will be provided by the state. And the main purpose of mixed economy is to ensure balanced development. But corruption is the biggest problem, and another important aspect is the efficiency of public sector enterprises is another serious concern in mixed economy. Please look into this slide. These are examples of public sector enterprises and private sector enterprises. Look at the next one. The economy which is made to serve the interests of the rulers is colonial economy. During the 200 years of British rule, we faced this problem. That means exploitation will be maximum during colonial economy. Please look into this slide. Raw materials like cotton are taken away from this country, and ultimately fabric is produced in England. In those days, I am talking about during 18th century, 19th century, cotton used to be taken by the British rulers from India, and textiles were produced in England. So this is nothing but colonial economy. Exploitation will be more in colonial economy. Look at the next one, integration of the economy with the global economy is known as globalization. We are talking about three terms since 1991. One is globalization, second one is privatization, third one is liberalization. So these are three terms. If you look at these three terms, one is globalization. What is globalization? Globalization is seamless flow of goods, services, investments, businesses from one country to another country. So domestic boundaries will be removed and free flow of people, free flow of goods, free flow of businesses, free flow of investments will take place. That is globalization. This is theoretically I am speaking about. Definitely there will be certain controls, certain protectionist measures to save domestic economies. That is different story. But theoretically, seamless movement of goods, services from one part to other part is globalization. And because of globalization only, our software services are reaching to America as well as Europe. So this is nothing but integration of various economies. That is globalization. Theory, it is seamless, but in practice, it will have protectionist measures. And don't forget, after Brexit, the protectionist measures increased in recent times. The second word you should not forget is privatization. Privatization is the transfer of ownership of property or businesses from a government to a privately owned entity. Look at this slide. All of you are familiar with the public sector enterprises, private sector enterprises. Public sector examples, NTPC, BSNL, BHEL, then Indian Oil. These are all examples of public sector. Private sector, Airtel, Vodafone, L&T, Reliance. These are all examples of private sector. So here, what is the need for the government? To produce power, to be in telecom sector, to produce heavy machinery. What is the need for the government? So that is the $1 million question, and predominantly for globalization, this privatization is also requirement. Without privatization, what will happen? Certain key sectors will be managed and monitored and regulated by the government through public sector undertakings. So that is not the desired trait in globalization. So globalization demands more and more privatization. We have followed the new economic policy from 1991, but in privatization, we are successful only up to some extent. Very few organizations were privatized. Examples, Videsh Sanchar Nigam Limited, one example. Next, one more example is Hindustan Zinc and Bharat Aluminium Company or Balco. These are some examples, but major public sector giants are still controlled by Government of India, and you can say in privatization, our success is limited after new economic policy. And now also, government is more concentrating on selling a minority stake in public sector enterprises, but not a strategic sale, right? The main emphasis nowadays is by selling minority stake to improve the efficiency of public sector undertakings than privatizing them. So, after new economic policy came into force from 1991, privatization has not given desired result in our country. What I mean to convey is not much happened for privatizing public sector enterprises after new economic policy. And third term is liberalization. Liberalization is relaxation of government restrictions. Government restrictions were substantial prior to 1991. I have given some examples, so please look into them. 1991, there was only Department of Telecom which was giving telephones. Subsequently, this was liberalized. Now Reliance Jio, Vodafone, Airtel, Idea, Reliance Communications, lot many companies are there. Prior to 1991 new economic policy, only Department of Telecommunications used to provide telephones. What is the need for government to be in the business of giving telephones? So liberalization is basically removing more and more government controls. Look at another example. In 1991, prior to new economic policy, only Air India and Indian Airlines in government sector. Then now Jet Airways, SpiceJet, Indigo, Air Costa. Then if you look at the media sector, in 1991, only DD National and All India Radio, that too in government sector. And now hundreds of television channels are there and number of FM channels are there. So these are because of liberalization, right? I hope you understood the clear differentiation between globalization. Globalization is integration of economies. Then privatization, that means privatizing public sector undertakings where they are not required. And liberalization means removing the government controls and opening up more and more sectors for private sector participation. So these three things, one should be clear, and we made substantial strides in liberalization, at the same time in globalization, but our track record for the past 25 years in privatization is not up to the mark. Look at the next one. Disguised unemployment is more in agricultural sector. What is the meaning of disguised unemployment? Here the productivity is very low. Look at this example. This family of 6 members have got just half an acre of land, and from morning to evening all 6 people will work in their field. So the outcome after 1 year may be hardly total productivity of 15,000 rupees or 20,000 rupees. That means in half acre probably they may have a yield of maybe 10 bags of rice or 15 bags of rice, or equivalent productivity if you look at some other crop. So 6 people working in their own field of half acre is a classic example of a disguised unemployment. At the same time, please look into this. It is a small kirana shop. 2 persons, let us assume father and son, are sitting in the same shop, and this is example of disguised unemployment. That means the productivity is very low and it is employing more than the required persons, basically family businesses and subsistence agriculture, because entire family members working in their half acre or 1 acre of land is example of disguised unemployment. What I mean to convey is the productivity is too low and more number of people working than required. If 1 person can produce certain task, maybe 4 persons, 5 persons are engaged in that. That is disguised unemployment. Look at another term, underemployment. I will tell you 2 examples. A PhD scholar working as a clerk. His skills are very high, but he is being utilized for a job of clerk. So this is example of underemployment. A postgraduate working as a sweeper. That is example of underemployment. If you look at the seasonal unemployment, agriculture is one example because agricultural employment is seasonal in nature. At the same time, please look at Ooty or Kodaikanal. There the employment is seasonal. Nobody will go there in winter season. People will go there only in summer seasons. So that is classic example of seasonal unemployment. Then structural unemployment. Now everywhere we are seeing computers. The persons whoever not familiar with operation of computers may lose jobs. All of you are familiar in banking industry. Certain people are working for the past 30 years, 35 years. If they are not upgrading the skills to operate the computer, then they may lose jobs. So, because of technological changes, if the skills demanded are more than the existing skills, if that leads to unemployment, that is a structural unemployment. So, structural unemployment results from the difference in skill sets. The skills required are more than the present day skills. Then look at another example for structural unemployment. Nowadays, advanced machines are coming for printing. So, if people are not able to improve their skills to operate these machines, then it may lead to structural unemployment. Let us look at another type of unemployment, that is technological unemployment. Nowadays, the robots are coming. Robots are coming as the receptionists. In hotels, in banks, robots are coming as receptionists. Because a robot is sitting as a receptionist, people are losing jobs. That is technological unemployment. There is difference between structural unemployment and technological unemployment. Structural unemployment is if you are not able to upgrade the skills when you are losing the job, that is structural unemployment. And if human beings are replaced by machines altogether, just like robots, that is technological unemployment. Look at another example. Here, harvesting machine. In agriculture, harvesting machine came and lot many jobs are lost because of this. So, this is another example of technological unemployment. Right friends, let us stop this discussion of unemployment at this juncture. Let us move on to the next question. Which of the following is the most obvious sign of inflation? Rise in retail prices. When we are going to the market to purchase vegetables, to purchase pulses, then when we are feeling the pinch of increase in prices, then it is a clear indication of inflation. Which of the following does not constitute World Bank Group? OECD is not a part of World Bank Group. Then if you look at the World Bank and the World Bank Group, if someone talks about the World Bank, it is International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, or IBRD, along with IDA. You may ask, what is the purpose of IBRD and IDA? And please don't forget, IBRD and IDA put together is the World Bank. And IBRD is basically to look at reducing poverty, at the same time economic development of developing countries. And IDA looks at the poorest of the poor countries, reducing poverty and economic development of poorest of the poor countries. And most of the countries are situated in Africa. So the purpose of IDA is to look at the poorest of the poor countries. So these two are called World Bank. And World Bank Group includes another three organizations, that is IFC, International Finance Corporation. What is the main purpose? Its main purpose is promoting private investment for economic growth. The theory behind the establishment of IFC is without the private sector participation, economic growth is not possible. So, as to promote private sector investment, this International Finance Corporation looks at developing countries. Then, Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency. Now, several countries are investing in other countries. All of you are familiar with foreign direct investment. If one country is investing in another country, that is example of foreign direct investment. There are several political risks and non-commercial risks associated with investments. Political risks as well as non-commercial risks. What is commercial risk? If I am investing something, if I am running into losses, then that is commercial risk. Because the business is not performing well, I am not able to improve the business, I am not able to do marketing, that is commercial risk. But non-commercial risk and political risks are different. So, Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency looks at political and non-commercial risks. At the same time, another organization is there, International Center for Settlement of Investment Disputes, ICSID. This looks at investment disputes. When people are investing, disputes are bound to come. So, as to settle the disputes, ICSID is established. So, these 5 organizations are part of World Bank Group, and this IBRD as well as IDA are part of World Bank. These things please don't forget. And the headquarters of all these organizations is Washington DC. And you may ask, what is IMF and World Bank? There is basic difference between IMF and World Bank. IMF basically looks at global monetary system for economic stability, and World Bank basically to reduce poverty and for economic growth. These two are Bretton Woods institutions established after Second World War, and these two are headquartered in Washington DC. So these two things please don't forget. Look at the next question. Continuous and drastic recession in the country's economy over a period of 2 to 3 years is depression. Here, I would like to tell you, if the economy is recording negative growth for 2 successive quarters, it is known as recession. If the economy is recording negative growth for 2 successive quarters, it is known as recession. And if the recession continues for longer duration, maybe 2 to 3 years, that is a depression. So there is a difference between recession and depression. Please understand, recession means when the economy records negative growth for 2 successive quarters, that is a recession. And if this continues for almost 2 to 3 years, that is a depression. Look at the last one. Which of the following is not the trait of capital expenditure? Capital expenditure traits. First one is, for acquiring capital assets, a dam is constructed, an airport is constructed, an expressway is constructed. These are all examples of capital expenditure. It is non-recurring in nature. Once an asset is created, then further expenditure is not necessary on that. For creating assets, I am talking about. Maintenance is different. For creation, I am talking about. For creation, it is a one-time measure. It is non-recurring in nature. So, first sentence is correct. Second option is correct. Look at the fourth one. It may be long-term expenditure and is shown in the assets side of the balance sheet. So, capital expenditure is normally long-term expenditure because to construct a dam, it may require 4-5 years. So, it is a long-term expenditure, but the benefits will be there for years to come. If an expressway is built, then it may benefit the community for 40-50 years. So, the third option is wrong, right? So, these are all the traits of capital expenditure except 3. Right, friends, with this, let us conclude the 7th module. Have a nice day. Thank you.